Hey, I got this watch. It's I'm not sure what it is actually, but I paid 15 francs for it in the Vallée de Joux at a thrift, kind of makeshift thrift store in somebody's garage in the town of La Chenette, where Omar Piguet is headquartered. So the thing about this is the case is silver. It's a kind of pocket watch construction. And the whole thing that's fun about a watch like this is looking up these hallmarks and trademarks and figuring out the history of it. So I'm not going to do that today, but I want to do something else, which is look at the movement and see if there's anything that seems unrepairable about it. Okay, so what we want to do here is look at the first thing kind of I would look at is the most common problem is going to be in the balance staff pivots or the pallet fork pivots. So what we can do is remove the I gotta calm down now. Okay, so I'm gonna try to remove the balance. I don't know if that's gonna come out very easily unless I remove the movement from the case. Let me show you the other side of this for a second first. This dial is kind of cool. I think the dirt will come off of it. It's been, the crystal's been missing for some time, it looks like, so there's some dirt on it. The hour hand is broken, but I have all these kind of spare hands at this point, lots of different sizes, some of which look like this. So it'll be fun for me to go through my junk pile and see if I can clean this up and replace the hand with the same type of hand. And then put a new crystal on it. And then, so the thing we would want to do right now though is, let's try this. Again, this was 15 francs, which is about $15. I liked it because of the perlage on the movement. So what I want to do is try to very carefully remove the balance cock and the balance assembly, and check if the pivots are okay on the balance staff. That's going to need, you need to pry under that, so it's going to need to come out of the case. So to come out of the case, I saw this is a casing screw. Needs a bigger screwdriver. So this is the kind that's like a half a head on that. You need to line it up like that. And then this side should come out. And then I noticed there's like a pin on the other side, which is kind of, but I've seen this in stopwatches before. There's just a pin down there. So that means you lift out this side and then that side unpins itself. But this is the third point, so you need to also remove the stem. Stem looks okay, that's good. Now this should come out by pivoting against this point there. So I should be able to lift this side. Now how can I do that safely? I could get under that screw. What I want to do is avoid slipping and scratching anything. Okay, I think it might be held by the dial also. So that's a dial screw right there. And here you can see the dial screw, the other dial screw actually against the dial pin there. That's already loose actually. This one needs to go like this to be loose. You can see right down in there, there's the other dial pin under there. So now the dial should be able to come off. And actually the movement should fall out. Now I'm worried about, I don't think the balance cock is going to fall off, but I don't want to take my chance. That is not the proper way to use a screwdriver. Okay, so now it's possible that the whole thing will push out. Nope. Let's look at this again. The stem is gone. That's one point that holds it. Nothing's holding it to the dial. This screw is free. Oh yeah, sometimes you need, oh see, I didn't want to slip like that. Sometimes you need to rotate it to a point where it will release. So my plan with this is if all the parts are there and they're not broken, I would clean this and then see if I can clean and lubricate it and get it working again. Is it possible that this screw is more complicated than I think? See, normally that just jams up underneath there and holds the movement down on that side. So if you lift, it should come up. But I'm bending the silver there, which I don't want to do. It's not coming up. I want to look again at this point over here where I saw, yeah, this thing. There's nothing, there's no release here. That's kind of just a locating thing. The movement, somebody's going to say, you dum-dum. One thing I'm noticing is that the movement almost looks bigger than the back of the case. Is there like a front bezel on this? Oh, snap. Yeah. That's pretty, see, I didn't notice that because it's, oh, it's hinged even. Hello. Okay. That's embarrassing because obviously I saw the double hinge before and I just didn't think too much of that. Okay, so what I want to do here is try to get a gentle thing going. Nice. So now it's going to come out, the movement's going to come out that side. And I should get a casing cushion ready. And I should put on, no. I mean, this thing is dirty as heck. Cool. Look at that. So again, the thing that I love about this is like pocket watch, early pocket watch style. But it's smaller than a modern movement. So now we can find our pry point over here, which is there underneath that screw. I'm not too worried. Yeah, I should be though. I was gonna say I'm not too worried about the hands, but I should be because I'll need one of those hands at least. The one that's not broken. And perhaps I could even repair the hand that's broken. Okay, so now in theory we can also remove the dial. Dial washer. What's that say? 121 121208. A lot of dirt going on in there. It seems like everything might be there though. The spring. Bottom jewel for the balance. 121208. I couldn't find anything else about what this movement is. Let's Google 121208. That just reminded me, on this other screen here, there's some PDFs that people turn me on to for tool identification. So I'm going to put those in the links. This one is called Master Watchmaking Tools and Materials of the Trade. And the other one was, I think it's just a Watchcraft catalog or K&D catalog. This has a lot of information. So I'll put links to those in the description of this video. Now, 121208, I'll try Ramf. Roland Ramf passed away, unfortunately. 1208. I don't think that's it, even though it looks kind of similar. No. Ugh. RANFFT. Maybe it's not 1212. Maybe it's 21208. FEF 212. Doesn't look like that either. Elgin 212. That was. It's not that. So anyway, I don't want to waste too much of your time looking for that, but that's how I would start to search for that. Maybe we'll see some other clues in here. Oh, I could. So the dial washer fell off. Need to keep that handy. I could switch over to my vintage movement holder now. You know, often what will happen also here is that the hour hand wheel will fall off. And then, because it look like right now, this one's kind of held on by dirt, but you got to be careful. Watch this. So if you think it's there, now everything else, this is held on by the cannon pinion. This is held on by this plate. So everything else is safe, but it's a good idea to keep an eye on those hour hand wheels. It's fun to see. Okay, so what I want to do here is put this face down. I de-rusted this movement holder too. Take a look at that. Make sure it's not going to damage anything if I tighten it a little bit. Yike. That's kind of cool. It has a nice grip on that. It's fun to discover these old tools like this movement holder and realize that they for some tasks they're better than the modern equivalent. Sometimes when you do discover that, it's cool. Now this I worry about because I'm lifting that straight off. I don't want to damage the pivots myself. Okay, now come out. Okay, now we can. Where's my, I think, okay, let's try this way. Oof. Both those pivots look great. Yay. Okay, the other thing I was concerned about is the jewel on the pallet fork. Because I saw that, it looks kind of weird, but it was underneath the balance wheel. I guess it's just transparent. See, these other jewels are rose colored. That jewel is transparent, but it seems okay actually. So that's also good. So I think that the only problem is there's no power going through the powertrain. And that's probably just from how dirty it is. See, on the left there, the pallet gear doesn't really care if it advances or not. Nothing's driving it. You should want to advance to that position. And then advance to that position. And then advance to that position. But it's just not, nothing's driving it. But that looks like that movement is cleanable. So that's what I'll do next. Or not next necessarily. That's what I'll do next with that movement. Plus I'll do some of that. All right, so I went over those tools a little bit. I went over this wonderful purchase. I have so many things to do now that I can't wait. I can't wait to start cleaning up and making these little watches work. All right, see ya. Thanks for watching. Hey, so actually, while that was downloading, I put this together and I put it back together, and there's two things. First of all, I have a hand that I think is going to be perfect for it. I put a little crystal that's too small on top of that. But crystals, you can always just find the right diameter and order it. This one is faceted, and it's kind of interesting. But this was left over from like one of my first videos was about this spare parts box of spare parts that I bought. I mean, it was multiple boxes. So like you can always, if you buy a bunch of spare parts, you can always mine those for things. So that crystal was out of this, and it's kind of interesting to put a faceted crystal on it to kind of feminize that watch when it's finished. But the other thing that was crazy is I found this. This was also in that spare parts, $80 worth of spare parts. And this is basically, look at how similar those are in terms of period, dial, hands, indices, gold markers, size, diameter of the case. This has a, I didn't even know this was a real watch. But these hands I could probably also appropriate if I wanted to. They look like they might be slightly too big. The dial in this seems slightly smaller. But the interesting thing about this is that if you look at this, it's very similar in terms of it has the case front that snaps on. The back snaps open. And then the back has a separate internal back. I'm just destroying this. And then this is missing. This is some kind of E273, unfortunately, this is missing its balance. But the train is working. If I find a balance for this, I could restore this as well. But the point is, like, having these things on hand gives some spare parts that cost nothing in the end compared to all the tools and time that goes into this. It's a great, kind of makes for anything can turn into an interesting project relatively quickly. All right, thanks again. Damn, there was one other thing I wanted to say. Okay, I remembered what it was, of course, after the second I turned off the camera. One of the reasons that I bought this watch was I saw when I was looking at it that, before I bought it, obviously, that the balance wheel has this brake in it, and then it has a brake on the other side too. I'm not going to turn it to the other side. But basically, I thought that that was a mistake when I first saw it. The first time I saw it was in this box of parts from Ed in Las Cruces. I thought that this was like a damaged balance wheel. I should have known better. So this is a thing. Like splitting the balance wheel like that was a thing in old balance wheels, apparently. And it seems to me that's just like one more variable in terms of trying to true and balance the balance wheel that is kind of not great. And maybe that's why they don't do it anymore, assuming that they don't do it anymore. Oh man, there's a hand. Oh, it's not a hand, it's a gear. But anyway, when I saw that in that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I don't believe I have a watch that has a split balance wheel like that. So I thought this would be fun to experiment with also because of that. Now, another thing, I was just looking at these hands. So this is the hand I'm going to try to, the new hand I'm going to try to put on it, and this is the old hand. And I think there's a problem, and I want to see if I can solve it right now. The problem is this hand in the new hand, the hole is smaller. So this might be, and also it's shallower. I don't think the fact that this doesn't have as much depth matters that much, but the hole size does, because I couldn't fit it onto the I couldn't fit it onto the hour hand gear. So what I want to try to do is use the staking tool, and this is why ultimately you got to have some of these tools. If you don't have these tools, you're going to get stuck very quickly with watchmaking. So this tool, staking tool, this rotates around so you can align various holes underneath the hole for the punch there. So what I'm going to do is look for the base hole that will just give the support to this So I'm using the old one to start with, but I think it's going to be that hole. And then I'm going to switch to the new hand. And if it falls in there, then it's not going to work. But so basically what I want to do is see if I can put this there and then drive a punch through it make it slightly larger. Ooh, that's even better. Okay, so then we need a punch. So I don't know if you can see. Basically, the punches include all these different sizes, and they're all tapered. So I'm gonna look for one that has a kind of good taper to punch that out. I discovered this thing. One of these punches came, or actually the centering punch came with a plastic tube on it, and that can be used to pull these out. To grab a punch, pull it out. And also it reminds me I should use the centering punch. So step by step, we're gonna use the centering punch. First, I'm just setting it on the correct hole. Then I'm going to remove the hand for a moment. Put it there again. See how that's not centered? But I already tightened it. So now I need to loosen it. Place it again. Center it. Tighten this. Now that makes it so this wheel won't turn. And then remove the centering punch. And then, again, I think I'll use the, well, no, I'll use the new one. I was going to use the old one to not damage the new one, but I'm going to put the new one in place. Now, the problem is I kind of want this upside down because I need to open the bottom of it more than I need to open the top of it. And then get my little hammer going. Now this will probably be a disaster because it's probably not a good way to do this. The size, I'm stuttering. It's a little bit more than probably you should try to fix using this method, but let's see what happens. I don't have a sense of what's possible in the watchmaking world as yet. Now we can compare that with this. I always kind of forget to complete my sentences, but what I was saying is, like, if I didn't say this already, if you want to play around with these, with this hobby, you kind of have to see it split that right there, which might not be a bad thing. Anyway, if you want to play around with this hobby, there's a certain level of, like, you have to have some tools to play with, or else you're not going to be able to go very far with it. So it's taken me some time. These kind of, it looks better. It achieved what I wanted to achieve. Now, we'll see if it's enough. You get the idea. Now I gotta focus this. Ooh. Okay. So that was not enough. Let's just compare visually what happens with the base of the hand that was there. See how that fits nicely. Almost too loose, actually. So that's interesting. Ooh, that's interesting. See, now it's broken, so it's definitely gonna go on. This is like the very bad watchmaker move. It's gonna go on, it's just gonna be dangerous now. That's what I thought would happen. So I crimped it a little bit. It'll go on, it'll hold, but it's probably not a good idea. It might work because it's resisting more than I expected. There's paint chipped off there. That's not a real black hand anyway. It's blued. I mean, it's not. Okay, now the problem is it went on a little bit too far. Now, you can see the blue hand versus the black hand. And actually, the blue kind of matches the blue in the hour at the 12 o'clock, but the black hand is just painted black. So, that's a hack. But it's just for fun. You gotta start somewhere. I'm happy with that for now.